my God! No way! This can't be real!
Marcus Bell stood across the street from the courthouse in a grey suit that no longer fit him the way it used to, watching the woman he had married 16 years earlier walk down the front steps in white. Her hand was wrapped around the arm of the man who had been his best friend since they were 14 years old, sharing lockers, sharing secrets, sharing a childhood that Marcus had once believed meant something permanent. The rings on their fingers caught the afternoon light. 6 weeks. That was all the time that had passed since he stood in a funeral home holding his father's cold hand. And now he was standing on a sidewalk watching his wife marry his best friend with money that, as far as Marcus knew, should never have existed in the first place. His father, Walter Bell, had spent 74 years convincing everyone around him that he was barely getting by. He wore the same brown jacket through 3 different decades. He clipped coupons out of the Sunday paper long after his neighbors had stopped bothering. He drove a truck with over 200,000 miles on it and refused every offer his son ever made to buy him something newer. Marcus grew up believing his father's silence about money meant there simply wasn't any. He never once imagined that the quiet, tired man who ran a small laundromat on the corner of 5th and Union was sitting on a fortune large enough to rewrite every assumption his son had ever made about him. What Marcus did not know yet, standing on that sidewalk with his jaw tight and his hands shoved deep into his pockets, was that his father had known this exact moment was coming long before the cancer ever took him, long before the hospital bed, long before the funeral, long before the wedding he was now watching unfold in front of him, like a nightmare wearing a smile. Walter Bell had spent the final 2 years of his life quietly rebuilding his entire estate, moving money through channels his son had never heard of, meeting with a lawyer his son had never met, and writing a letter his son would not read for weeks. He had built something, and he had built it for a reason that had nothing to do with money and everything to do with the truth. Marcus watched Diane laugh at something Ray whispered in her ear, the same laugh she used to give him across a dinner table, the same laugh he had fallen in love with when they were 25 and broke, and certain that love was the only currency that mattered. He didn't understand yet how much his father had seen. He didn't understand that the will everyone thought they had already read was not the only one. He didn't understand that somewhere in a bank vault 2 states away sat a sealed envelope with his name written on it in his father's shaking handwriting, holding answers to questions he had not even thought to ask yet. All he knew, standing there on that sidewalk, was that everything he believed about his family, his marriage, and his father's quiet life was about to be taken apart piece by piece. Before we go any further into how Marcus ended up on that sidewalk, and what his father left behind for him to find, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. There is a version of this story where Marcus simply walks away that day, gets in his truck, and drives home to grieve in peace. But that is not what happened, because 3 days after the wedding, a woman named Sylvia Okafor called his cell phone and told him something that would change the rest of his life. She told him she had been waiting 2 years for that call. She told him his father had left him a letter, and she told him that once he read it, he would finally understand why Walter Bell spent his entire life pretending to be a man with nothing to lose.